Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing the story of Jin Hyuk, whose favorite game turned into reality, and he is using his game knowledge to get super strong and steal all the skills. If you haven't watched the previous part, the link is in the description. Today's goal is 1,000 likes, and I know you guys will reach it instantly. So go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for more videos in the future. So let's continue the story. The ground shattered, and black smoke rose around the colony. No way! Did you kill the Guardian too? Pandaria looked at the butcher, which had been turned to ashes. It had expected the human to enter, but this was far beyond its expectations. At this point, Pandaria had to admit it. This wasn't a worm that it could simply trample, but an enemy it had to fight with all its might. Pandaria dashed right towards its room. The flag hadn't been pulled out yet. It looked like he was waiting for the queen to arrive under the banner. Why didn't you pull it? Pull, and the victory is yours. I will, but it was too boring. Jin Hyuk shrugged. With me in front of me. You say that? A cold voice. His hair began to rise all along his skin. Indeed, the magic of boss monsters was something terrifying. It is thrilling to fight her at this low level. No matter how much the rift stat could close the gap, there was no single player who could beat the queen. Usually, a 1-1 fight wasn't something that could happen. However, due to the unexpected contract, a player who could defeat the mother of zombies would be born. Jin Hyuk cuts down the scissors of the butcher into half. Only one side was still fine, the right-sided blade. It now resembled the eerie shape of a sickle, and Jin Hyuk took the next step. Fuse Jackal's tooth with the spirit of scissors. He possessed a unique ability to combine substances with different properties into one. The ability that he had thought was his best tool for climbing the tower. At this moment, it manifested to allow him to face his worst enemy. Fusion successful. Scythe that cuts cause and effect has been completed. Scythe that cuts cause and effect. Acquisition difficulty. Unknown. Description. This is the relic of a god whose judgment is absolute. You can kill those that cannot die and cut those that cannot be cut. The system intervenes due to the appearance of an inappropriate relic on the 4th floor. This item can only be used once. A strange light shone around the scythe. Possible to use just once? Jin Hyuk clicked his tongue at this. He already knew that it would be impossible to spam this permanently, so he thought he would get at least 2 or 3 chances. Now that this was reality and not the game, the conditions were more strict. Perhaps not just Anubis, but if a relic of another god was used, maybe he could use it one more time. But this one chance was a luxury too. It is enough to clear the minimum conditions. 1 fatal hit. He obtained a weapon that would take the enemy down with 1 hit. This made the conditions equal, because they both wanted to kill the other. Blackhound is watching. The gods of Egypt cannot easily accept this situation. Even Pandaria was shocked. It didn't care about the other things he had held until then. None of the jackal's tooth, the scissors, or the white twig would be able to hurt its body. However, the moment those items were combined and became one, everything had changed. This cannot be. This destroyed everything it understood and created a new item. You bastard! Who the hell are you? Pandaria shouted. Pandaria's dark energy began to encroach on the surrounding area. Jin Hyuk felt that it wouldn't let him attack easily from now on. It was the first defense skill that Pandaria had used, considering its aggressive nature. At least I know you're scared. What? Am I wrong? To me, you are like a hedgehog ready to attack due to being scared. This, damned human! Pandaria moved its hand, the ability to corrode anything it touches. The energy that was closest to death was consuming both air and land, and Jin Hyuk moved accordingly. The ability covered a wide area, so it would be impossible to avoid it, but he had prepared an ability to counter it. Unique ability Mandala is activated. A thin golden film wrapped around his body. As the boss dark energy and the mandala touched each other, smoke rose. My ability doesn't work? Pandaria was shocked once more. It had believed in its ability, so much so that this was shocking. There is no such thing as an invincible power in this world. Those who use the power from the opposite spectrum would have the right to survive through these situations. Above all, it was impossible to break through the mandala with only this level of corrosion. Realizing that it had made a mistake by spreading its corrosive energy, Pandaria instead gathered it all in a single point. Its corrosive energy was wielded in the form of a 2-meter-long sword. Although it didn't suit Pandariel's slender build, it swung the sword as if it was a toothpick. A blow that cut open the ground. It looked scary and threatening. However, no matter how destructive it seemed, if it doesn't touch, it is useless. Jin Hyuk already knew from where the attack would come. He had infused the twin dragon swords with energy from the sword grave and the blessing of the stars. In order to create the perfect timing, he had to cut the opponent's physical strength, and what followed afterward was an onslaught. Sparks filled the air as his two swords found gaps in Pandariel's movement. Little by little, Jin Hyuk was slowly cornering the Queen of the Undead and forcing it to use its last resort. Mourning for the dead is activated. A screeching noise came from Pandariel's sword, the sound closer to a howl, as if it couldn't stand the pain. Unfortunate. I was just getting excited. Are we already reaching the end? Let's see. If you laugh after this, to see off the dead. A sword to destroy the dead. Eternal annihilation. The bastard sword the queen held disappeared, and the presence as well. Everything turned to nothing. Movement beyond the senses wasn't the kind of movement that could be stopped by seeing and reacting to it. Both with the talent to feel the sword. Become a veteran who memorized everything. Only one of those two types of players could survive before this queen, and Jin Hyuk already knew which of the two would be better suited for it. Rather than innate talent acquired through enjoyment, the veteran's path was the path he needed to take. A dazzling flame. Jin Hyuk slashed his sword towards the queen's heart. The distance between them was narrowed one step at a time. When Panadriel's attack proved unsuccessful, it launched a second attack. Second form. This time the tip of the sword was split into countless paths, divided by dots and lines. Deliver. The remnants of the attack were erased and moved towards the enemy from the front, back, right, and left. It was a storm-like sword attack that left no blind spots. However, the result was the same this time too. Jin Hyuk moved the twin dragon swords as if he had measured everything. Not a single one of the attacks had touched him, and the distance between the two was narrowed again. This time, it is my turn. A streak of cold rose from Jin Hyuk's fingertips. LV5 Glacier Formation and Black Ice are activated. Jin Hyuk used Glacier Formation to create an ice sheet to make his opponent lose their balance. LV1 Sword Demon's Emperor Footwork is activated. Using this skill, he used abnormal movement to get closer. Pandariel roared in anger. This was a movement that it couldn't even see. Everything began to break down. And Jin Hyuk wasn't even trying to take her attacks head-on, but just accepted them. Just like that. He got the last laugh. He finally found the gap that he was waiting for. Jin Hyuk stabbed his swords into the ground and picked up his scythe. Pandariel was enraged. This cannot be. How could a human that could not even live for 100 years have such perfect abilities and not show a single gap? This was already too late, no matter how arrogant or negligent Pandariel was. The distance was already closed. Slash! The first crack was heard at this moment, the first since the start of the battle. A single drop of blood flowed through the neatly cut area that marked the end. 4th floor boss monster Pandariel has fallen. The 5th floor of the Tower of Trials is open. Time remaining until conquering the next floor. 98D, 23H, 59 and 59s. Level has risen. Level has risen. Level has risen. You have succeeded in defending the base. A-rank random box, 5 pieces, will be given according to the base rankings. You have acquired the Advanced Skill Enhancement Book, 1, as a reward for most kills. You have obtained a 10% discount coupon for coin exchange fee, 1 time, as a popular vote reward. You have obtained the Magic Library admission ticket, 1 time, as a reward for defeating the hidden boss. Numerous things popped up. Who would have expected this? Anubis and the other gods who had been sure of their victory were at a loss for words. Still, Panadriel was stronger than the 3rd floor boss, who hid behind its subordinates. Jin Hyuk said softly. Of course, as Panadriel was dead, it could not hear. The fierce battle on the 4th floor was over. Considering the desperate situation, this reversal was close to a miracle. And now, 2 hours later, in a bar in Hongdae, Jin Hyuk and the rest of those who fought in the tower relaxed a little. Oppa! Here! Yu Yunhua waved her hand. When fighting in the tower, her knuckles had begun to drip with blood as she used martial arts that were bloody to use. but now she looked comfortable in a hoodie, and quite fresh too. Hyung, you came? Lee Taemin wore jeans, a black t-shirt, and a white hat. Sorry, I was a bit late. No. We, too, just came here. But you are like a whole different person? At first glance, I thought a celebrity had come. Hyung, can't we go around the tower like this? After taking a break, he went to a salon, bought new clothes, and changed everything. Come to think of it, the hairdresser said that he would look better if his hair was waxed. He thought she was messing around, but seeing the people's reaction, it felt like he did change. If we dress up like this, what year will we climb the tower? Jin Hyuk smiled and asked, Miss Teresa? She said she had some work for an hour or so. She said we should start before she comes. Unlike Jin Hyuk, Teresa had gone to the gate from the European side. It would have been nice if she had come here, but she said something important was happening, and she couldn't join the group. She was bound to have her own plans if she was a ranker. Finally, a man was sitting in the corner of the table. Did you see that man? Talk slowly. Wow. I think he just looked at him. He had excellent proportions and clothes, which looked amazing on him. Additionally, he gave out a chic aura which seemed to indicate that he had no worries in the world. It was an appealing combination. Anyway, he was getting a lot of attention. You are here? As you can see, I thought you wouldn't come or be late for a few more hours, but you actually kept the promise? Jin Hyuk sat with a smile as he thought of how he had made this man come here. Come to the bar at Exit 3 in Hongdae tomorrow night at 7. We will all have a beer. Funny. Why should I come there? Chun Yu-sung had frowned, but you need to come there if you want to take a pick from the random box, right? Jin Hyuk promised that if he came, he actually did end up coming. Anyway, this guy, Chun Yu-sung, looked like a neighborhood gangster from how he talked and acted. He knew that Chun Yu-sung was a medical student at Korea University, but he was genuinely worried about the safety of the people who would be his patients, because it was obvious that he would swing the sword and not the scalpel during surgery. Call for a healer or kill me if I ever get hurt. What nonsense is that? I think it would be easier to just let me die slowly. Don't worry. Merit is merit, and living is living. I will do my best to save the patient I am assigned to. Shit, he cannot even joke about this. Jin Hyuk clicked his tongue and drank the beer. The chilled ice beer went down his throat, which was hot from running. He immediately ripped out a chicken coated in spicy sauce, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. Jin Hyuk exclaimed his love for the taste. The fatigue was essential to enjoy the taste. And at that moment, give me some too. Don't keep eating alone. A shrill voice rose from the ring. It was Elise. After the battle on the 3rd floor, she was quiet to recover her magic. But now it seemed like she was okay. After all, she has been stuck in that corridor of the fallen for far too long. She was curious about the food of the outside world. I really want to eat together, but it is quite expensive. No matter what, it is a burden on my wallet. Expensive? How much? Jin Hyuk deliberately made a serious expression. At least a diamond the size of a thumb. Still, it is a small amount compared to the price of alcohol, but considering our relationship, I will handle that. Be kind and nice. The key was to use Elise's mentality. I am not someone who will take things for free, Elise said in a low voice. As expected, prominent and wealthy people were always welcome, especially at a drinking party. Oh, are you saying that this is a drink made by you people? Elise's eyes shone brightly. From the black dress with gorgeous lace and a necklace adorned with rubies and gold, the fact that she could come outside meant she had to put effort into her body. It is called draft beer. Not bad. Although it cannot be compared with the finest blood I have enjoyed for years of history, it is still good enough to make me thirsty for more. It must have been made by the artisans whose recipes had been passed down through generations. She was making assumptions here. This was a 2,501 beer that was mass-produced in a factory, especially today since it was on a 1+1 offer which was being run due to the 4th floor being cleared. Eat this too. This? Chicken. It is coated with soy sauce and seasoning. Meat. I do not like it, but you recommend it, so I will try it once. Elise elegantly clicked the chicken thigh with a fork. What she ate made her eyes change, like a beast that had caught its prey. Jin Hyuk tried to take one piece of chicken. Elise blocked it with her fork. She wasn't going to let even one piece leave her sight. Right. When it came to meat dishes, be they boiled, grilled, or anything, one would go crazy. Eat a lot. Thank you. I will not forget this. Elise grabbed the beer mug with a lovely expression. Like an innocent girl, who would look at this little one and think they are looking at the true ancestor, one of the strongest beings in the tower? Everyone, I am here. After a while, Teresa joined in, and the atmosphere became hotter as they ate delicious food and thought of happy things in the tower. But as they were all in the middle of talking, the TV volume went up, making everyone look at it. This was because there was a special feature related to the Tower of Trials, not gossip about sports in the entertainment industry. As the attack on the 4th floor succeeded this time, the attention is being focused on the 5th floor. Yes, right. There have been many ups and downs, but the Koreans have been ranked highly this time. Thanks to Kang Jin Hyuk, we could reach the 5th floor. A man and woman continued. Before we talk about the 5th floor, can we see a simple summary of the data for the general public to understand? Of course. The table below shows the players who played the biggest role in dealing with the boss monsters from the 1st to 4th floor, and which nations they belong to. Patrick of the American Titan Guild cleared the 1st floor. Maria of the European Olympus Guild and the Chinese Guild cleared the 2nd floor alongside Teresa. Unknown who cleared the 3rd floor. Kang Jin Hyuk cleared the 4th floor. Top rankers in each nation and the hope for mankind. Names of those who would continue conquering the floors in the future. The central theme of the 5th floor is escape. The male person on TV spoke. Escape? Are you saying it is about being trapped? Yes. There isn't much information because all the videos and records from the past have disappeared. We were able to reconstruct the up to the 8th floor based on the memories of players who played the game. It is all thanks to the veterans. It's funny that people who only managed to go up to the 8th floor are being considered great when they're actually just stagnant. We had people who went up to the 15th floor and left too. Lee Taemin clicked his tongue while watching TV. I know, but what can we do? Most people had left the game before the 8th floor. It's amazing they got information till the 8th floor at all. Yu Yonhua chimed in. By our standards, the hurdles are too much for other people. If we look at it that way, I think having information is a big deal. Isn't that a natural thing? Everyone joined in the conversation. On everyone's faces was the pride of reaching up until at least the 15th floor. Jin Hyuk, who was looking at them, scratched his cheek. Should I not say anything? To those who considered their own last floor the highest, if he told them that he had seen the end of the tower, then they might just die. And these people were his colleagues. He cannot hurt them. Especially Chun Yu-song would be the first to walk away if he knew he would get teased for stopping near the 20th floor. I should think about the mentality of the team members. Even if I think about myself, I feel like a bastard. As Jin Hyuk was nodding his head. If so, then what kind of escape is it? The purpose of the 5th floor is to choose one of the deadliest places to survive. A mental hospital, a gladiator area, a mine, or an uninhabited island, and then escape from it. It cannot be as difficult as I think, right? If the location is known in advance, can't the escape be prepared? Information was necessary for any escape plan. What characters would be there? What type of terrain? What would be seen? And what other information? This meant they would need to know everything in advance and prepare for it. Haha, thinking about it is quite easy. But no. On the 5th floor, the location and the composition inside change every time, so the advantage of having information fades fast. Nerfs are also applied on top of magic being sealed. Instead, this will be the most difficult one. Magic is sealed? Yes. Players are meant to clear it with just their own strength. A nerf that sealed unique abilities and skills. The 5th floor's start was already the worst. This floor is so annoying. Phew. I need to relax a little more. Ah, for real. It was a floor I hated to even look at. Sighs came from all around as everyone stared at the floor. Everyone was probably thinking the same thing, but Jin Hyuk was smiling. He knew how to easily get past this floor, and what preparation had to be made. The next afternoon, Jin Hyuk, who recovered from the fatigue at a hotel, laid out the rewards he had received. A rank random box. Advanced Skill Enhancement Book. 10% discount coupon for coin exchange. Magic Library admission ticket. 4 items. He had collected all of them and wanted to check them out right away, but... Status window. Jin Hyuk opened his personal status window instead. This was because he needed to distribute the stat points he had gained. Name: Kang Jin Hyuk. Gender: male. Age: 27. Level: 34. Strength: 16. Agility: 16. Stamina: 16. Magic: 62. Rift: 100. Luck: 10. Adaptive: 10. Stat points: 21. Coins: 235,341. Unique abilities: Fusion, Swordgrave, Blessing of the Stars. Skills: LV6, Element of Fire. LV4, Eye of Gluttony. LV3, Communion. LV3, Stigma on Soul. LV4, Shallow Breath. LV5, Glacier Formation. He had gone up 7 levels in one go, and his status window was insane. His heart began to beat quickly. In the past, I thought I had to grow up with one perfect growth. But that was an illusion. It was because his current growth speed was incomparable to the past. Ha ha ha. This is insane. The real Tower of Trials had a level of difficulty that differed from the game, but with that increased difficulty, I have more room to grow. The past experiences that he had accumulated, as well as his collected skills, were proof of how strong he had become. Feeling nice about this, he distributed the 21 stat points he had. Strength from 16 to 19. Agility from 16 to 19. Stamina from 16 to 19. Magic from 62 to 74. Magic was always important. As he had raised it by 12 points at once, he found the magic flowing around his body moving more smoothly. Nice. And then, Jin Hyuk picked up the Advanced Skill Enhancement Book, an item that raised any skill above LV10 by 1 level and any below LV10 by 3 levels. Considering that it was difficult to raise skill levels, this book was not something that could be easily exchanged for coins. Jin Hyuk already knew where to invest this time. Glacier Formation is the most important thing to grow, not only for the 5th floor, but for the future. It was a versatile skill that could be used in various situations for attack and defense. If he had to choose just one thing, that would be at the top of the list. The book vanished with a bright light and... Glacier Formation has been upgraded to LV8. A cool breeze spread through the hotel. What? Don't you think it suddenly got cold? Did they turn on the air conditioner? What kind of idiots turn on air conditioning in late autumn? Shit. Besides, it isn't even like air conditioning. This is freezing temperature. I think there is something wrong with the central air conditioner. Resolve it quickly so that the customers don't feel uncomfortable if a complaint comes in saying someone got a cold because of this, we will die. Jin Hyuk didn't realize that the hotel staff was scrambling to find the cause of this sudden issue. Meanwhile, he was picking up a golden box lying on the bed after strengthening his skill. An A-rank random box. As the name suggests, anything was possible from this box, making it similar to Roulette. A large golden roulette appeared in the room with numerous rank A items engraved. Let's see. As he lowered the lever on the side, the roulette wheel began to spin. 1, 2. Please press the red button in the center. When the button was pressed, an item would be selected from the roulette. But Jin Hyuk waited patiently with his arms crossed. He looked at the button as if he didn't care. Time has been exceeded. Time has been exceeded. A red status window kept flashing a warning at him. However, even though the message appeared, the roulette didn't disappear. Cheap threats. Jin Hyuk checked the status window and lowered the level again. However, this time too, he didn't push it. And there was a reason for doing this. A bug? A manipulation. Jin Hyuk had discovered a loophole within the system that was rigged to fuck with the players. If the roulette is given up 36 times, then the speed of it will decrease by 99.99% on the 37th spin. It was like playing in slow motion. After that, he could wait and get what he wanted. Actually, last night, he used this method to pick the item that Chun Yu-song wanted. But just one issue with this method. The downside was that an item gained from this method could only be used for 1 week. A playful smile hung on Jin Hyuk's lips. Chun Yu-song's new elemental sword would break down in a week. I am a bit sorry, but I didn't lie. He had promised him the items he needed and provided them to him. He never promised the sword would last forever. Above all, he could enjoy the elemental sword for at least a week. As he nodded, the 37th turn came, and the roulette's spin became unbearably slow. Now was the time. Jin Hyuk pressed the red button for the first time. You have chosen the A-rank 3 colored orbs. Red, white, and black. 3 pills with different abilities appeared. If he planned to use these within 1 week, he would need to attack the next floor soon. Jin Hyuk put the orbs into his subspace. A coupon that gives a discount on coin exchange. I can use it later when the video gets a lot of views. One last thing. The magic library. Advanced versions of skills, ancient magic, and barrier skills which only appeared in the middle to higher floors. A library of other dimensional knowledge that allowed a player to learn magic-related skills that others could not access. The idea would give any ambitious player excitement. However, Jin Hyuk's face held some tension. The manager of the library was quite a menacing character. After a while, I will be meeting him again. Rick Hennessy, the librarian who managed the library. He also owned the largest pawn shop in the tower. Jin Hyuk had often traded there in the past, and had given Rick the nickname of Thanos. This was because any item brought by another party would be purchased at half price and sold for double the original price. Indeed, a miracle transaction. Leisure that only those with large amounts of money could enjoy and do. But this time things will be different. This will be your first time meeting me now. And not my first time meeting you. This was different from the past when he knew nothing of how things worked. This time he knew everything about the opponent. Jin Hyuk bought some items from the coin exchange. He then held on to the most important ticket from his rewards. Magic library is opened. A green gate appeared. Marble floors and colorful lights. Endless shelves lined up with books. All intertwined like a maze, but Jin Hyuk continued to walk forward. To be precise, to the center where the information desk was located. How long had he walked? He had seen the end of the passage, which widened, a desk made of old wood, and a person was seated there. The old man, wearing a black suit and a monocle over one eye, stood up with slight curiosity. Jin Hyuk knew the reason. How did a human break through the maze and find the information desk in one attempt? Was what he was wondering? Surprising. It is normal for first-timers to get lost in the maze of books. I came all the way here. I was just walking along the path. I am sorry, but I am quite a lucky person. Jin Hyuk shrugged his shoulders and Rick didn't ask further. He looked interested in Jin Hyuk. I am Rick Hennessy, who manages the library. Rick politely bowed his head. A person at the middle manager level is bowing his head. It would have been easier for Jin Hyuk if the man had ignored him or something. Maintaining such politeness despite being from a higher place proved that the man was intelligent. A tycoon who ran one of the largest libraries in the tower. In order to get what they wanted from the man, players, too, needed their own plans. I am Kang Jin Hyuk. Player Kang Jin Hyuk, nice to meet you. The one who came to this place earlier than others with the approval of the tower. As a reward, you get to purchase 1 book there. Feel free to choose. They were part of the collection here, but giving me certain books and asking me to pick from them, isn't there a choice? Haha. Right. I'm just saying that you can pick anything you want. You will have to pay for it if you want to buy it. Of course, we do not accept the currency from the earth. Note that only coins or items will be taken. This was as expected. However, each of the useful magic books he wanted would need 1 billion coins, so purchasing them was out of the question. I don't have many coins, so purchasing them is difficult. I am interested in bartering. Can you recommend a suitable mage? Jin Hyuk took out Merlin's staff from his subspace inventory and placed it on the table. Rick's eyes trembled. It was a unique habit he had when something he liked came out. So, how about this? A flame-based magic book that was said to have been made by the Red Dragon. It is not a bad deal for Merlin's staff. Rick quickly pulled out a book with gold runes and a red cover. As expected, this kind of pattern appeared again. He had suffered considerable losses in the past when he came for barter. In exchange for a useless magic book, he was robbed of all the items he had. At that time, he made a mistake because he thought the magic spell was a huge deal. It is odd. From what I know, this book was written by the Imperial Court Mage, not the Red Dragon. The name had to be... Was it Telemos? Wasn't he just in the 6th circle? Not even an archmage. It was a magic book written by a rank 70 court mage, and he was trying to peddle this trash? Rick's eyes shook. His face, which had contained a little bit of doubt and interest, was now fixed with shock and vigilance. I have a wide network. Thanks to that, I have a lot of information. But the important thing now was to win the favor. The librarian Rick Hennessy's favor for you rises up. Always a trader seeking profit, but as far as he is concerned, he will soften his stubbornness. A keen eye that saw through the authenticity of things. They shared the same taste for food, so it was inevitable that there would be good feelings. Above all else, he was using the skill of communion, so this was psychological warfare. Can I ask you one thing, player Kang Jin-hyuk? Please feel free to ask anything. Since you came here, I know you are different from the average player. However, player Kang Jin-hyuk seems to have a unique background. Common sense and information that a player who had just entered the 5th floor could not have. Since Jin-hyuk spoke casually, of course, he thought something was up. I wonder what your background is? You saw right through me. Nice. Jin-hyuk smiled. He'd been waiting for this question. Actually, the Egyptian gods have been watching me. Thanks to that, I could come here and get various information about the tower. You are talking with the Egyptian gods? Yes. No. I didn't know you are a player they are so invested in. They seem to care about me quite a bit, and they did much for me. Had Anubis heard this, he would hang himself. No, he wouldn't just hang. He would bite his tongue and maybe jump from the pyramid too. Because Jin-hyuk could write a book about what had happened between them. But for Rick, he had no information about the past. At least at this moment, he didn't know yet. Probably. I think I was a bit too harsh. Rick's tone changed. Those who are worthy need to be treated right. As an apology, I am giving away one of the books here. Look at this. Of course, he expected the conditions would change. But this was unexpected. Was he saying that he would give up any book regardless of price? Can I choose anything? This is a reward given as an apology from my side. Do not worry and choose comfortably. If that is the case, and the price didn't matter then. Initially, he wanted to exchange Merlin's staff for it, but with this, he could get it for free. Jin-hyuk began to walk around. His walking speed slowed as he gradually stopped at the corner. Jin-hyuk then entirely stopped in front of a bookshelf in the corner. 12F, row 127. Right here. Why am I feeling this happy when I hated textbooks? Jin-hyuk picked one of the books off the shelf. It was an old tome with a black cover. Are you fine with that? There are surely better books than this, but it's written in ancient ruins. This commemorates when I, the black dragon Makedrian, turned into an ancient dragon. For thousands of years, I have been thinking about how to break the rules of the world. A book that was written by a dragon with a lot of diseases. This works. Jin-hyuk read the first chapter of the book written in ancient runes. After seeing it for 10 years, he was very familiar with it. Look at what I did again. Indeed, you are a person blessed by gods. Rick laughed delightedly. Perhaps because it was the shock of Jin-hyuk understanding ancient runes, or probably because of what he called one of the most powerful creatures in the tower. What was certain, however, was that Jin-hyuk had the favor of the librarian. I will keep an eye on the player from now on. I really look forward to meeting you again. At the end of that sentence, the library turned into sand and began to crumble. Now that the reward was earned, it was time to go back. The 5th floor of the Tower of Trials. It had only been 2 days since the 4th floor was attacked, but quite a few people had challenged the 5th floor. Due to the nature of the map, which was closed on a first-come, first-served basis, challengers came in to occupy a more advantageous spot. And the most popular was the mine. C-101 is closed. D-77 is closed. E-158 is closed. Jin-hyuk, who looked at the rapidly blinking status windows, exclaimed a little. Yeah. Well, the deadline is almost the same as applying for college courses. It was almost comparable to the liberal arts subjects like sexuality and love, which were completed as one. It must have been attractive since it was recognized to be cleared easily. At least there was less risk of death compared to the other places. You don't know that the clearing speed is abnormally slow for the safe ones. Finding the royal diamond buried deep in the mine is similar to finding a needle in the desert. There were many cases of failure even after 90 days of pickaxing. Above all, nothing was left except for the body being abused for so long. Jin Hyuk didn't even pay attention to the popular ones. Instead, he looked at where the players were most reluctant. Z01 Psychiatric Ward. Currently on standby, 37. Remaining time, 0H, 2 meter on 13s. Psychiatric Ward. A building that was cursed with monsters and roaming asylum patients. This was the battlefield to choose from on the 5th floor. The deadline is almost over. But at the moment when Jin Hyuk was about to accept the participation, an unexpected message arrived from those who had never revealed their presence. A gift from the Caladium Kingdom has arrived. Do you accept? A blinking golden status window. If it is the Caladium Kingdom. Jin Hyuk was a bit shocked. This was a nation belonging to the Empire, which was hostile to the Murim, and one of them was Caladium. Did they finally move? He thought that a connection would be tried to be established one day, but this was too fast. Well, new variables have emerged, so they couldn't help but feel greedy. At the same time, it also meant that the situation was turning urgent enough that even the Empire of Nobles had begun to put their pride aside. Both Murim and the Empire. To change the power composition of the tower, they are trying to preemptively recruit players who seem skilled. So they're coming out with presents? Weren't they being cute? Jin Hyuk smiled while looking at the list. It was time to see what those who dominated the middle floors had sent him. You have acquired the skill, Hazy Body Odor. Acquisition difficulty. F. Description. It is a skill that can erase not just your odor, but also your breath and any slight vibration in the air. When used, even wild animals cannot notice your presence. Time limit. 3 seconds. 3 uses. 24-hour cooldown. The system's deterrence is partially relaxed due to the patronage of a higher power. If it had been another floor, this skill would have been helpful. That was because the activation time was short, but the number of times it could be used was limited. However, this was different in a situation where they had to escape through crazy patients and named monsters. As long as unique abilities and skills are sealed, skills which are F rank are more valuable than S. It was like earning extra lives through them. And if it was given as a gift, then this was something that didn't violate the rules of the floor. It seemed like those upper floor dwellers were quite greedy. Let's use the skill. There was no reason to refuse something freely given to him to curry his favor. There was no reason to feel burdened either. Just walking around a tightrope among various factions, I will suck up all the honey they have to offer. This was the classic story of push and pull, which messed with the opponent's sense of longing. That was the best position to take for the future. Nice. Now that he acquired the skill, this consideration can be stopped. Jin Hyuk then opened the gate to the psychiatric ward. At that moment, you have selected the 5th floor psychiatric ward. Unique abilities and skills are sealed. There is only one rule: escape the ward alive. A status window appeared that indicated the start of a new floor. Jin Hyuk's vision then blurred. Damp air, a foul smell of blood and waste. The limited vision didn't allow him to see an inch ahead. All of this indicated that the chances of his survival here were the worst. Ancient Dragon, Mesedrian's magic book, has unlocked one of the skills. You can use Eye of Gluttony. And a status window appeared. However, the eye was something that could work without limitations. This is why I picked this book. But things are messy. No matter how much I smell this, I cannot get used to it. Jin Hyuk frowned and shook his head. At that moment, terrible darkness. This is the starting point? Damn it. Why such a place? Jin Hyuk could hear the voice of other people. Anyone who can light a fire. We cannot use the abilities because they are sealed. This is like heading back to the Stone Age. These players, who had gotten used to access all kinds of abilities, were suddenly deprived of them. They must feel like modern people being ripped away from electricity. I have something in my pocket. Pocket. Yes, this feels... A small flame appeared in the dark room with a lighter's sound. There were 5 men and women inside that could barely recognize each other. I might live now. I would have chosen a different place if I had known that this is how the place is. Do I have something in my pocket? Me too. Same here, a key. Survival items were given out at random. Everyone in the room checked their pockets, Jin Hyuk being the first among them. A ballpoint pen. This was a pen commonly found in offices. If it had been someone else, they would probably be cursing the system for giving them this. Jin Hyuk simply looked at the tip and nodded. Not bad. A true veteran doesn't blame the situation. They would just use what was there and make the most out of it. We only have newbies gathered here. Everything was clumsy from the first coping reaction to arriving in this place. This meant that they had no experience in clearing the psychiatric ward. In the past, he would have taken them along to enjoy how they would shiver through the situation. But there was no reason to do that now, because this wasn't a game to smile and enjoy oneself in. I think we will have to get through it on our own. Has anyone ever been here? A large Western man asked. I did try it once, but it was a long time back. In the start, I heard that the experience of playing on the 5th floor was meaningless because the structure and items changed. That is why I chose this. The mine was so popular that it closed quickly. Everyone came here for their own reasons. It was difficult for Jin Hyuk to understand any of these reasons. We hit a goal. First, let's slowly talk, and then move. The other people were constantly talking among themselves, but Jin Hyuk's eyes were on the door. Since the light was turned on, it is time for them to come. When you turned on the light, it wasn't just you alone that was granted vision. As soon as the players looked for a fire, those who dwelled in the ward would notice their presence. And at that moment, he could hear a faint sound. The rest of the people spoke so loudly that they didn't realize this. Everyone was just expressing their opinions on how to survive. The footsteps became louder, and now everyone noticed it. What is that sound? Lock the door first! Lock the door! They attempted to close the wooden door, while at the same time, the door swung frantically as those outside made their way in. It is here! In here! Burn everything. Burn them all and purify them. Blood of the heathen. Tear them apart and kill them. Voices tinged with madness rang out through the room. Damn it, are they already here? We need to get out of here right now. I cannot hold onto the door. They were people who were once patients here and had lost their minds. After that, they sacrificed themselves to an unknown god and spent their time filled with madness. Now there were 2 options left, fight or run. One of them had to be chosen. But the people here couldn't fight. How do you fight when you cannot use your abilities? They had to run. Hurry before their bodies were shredded and the rest were burned alive. We need to get out right away. The big man looked around the room. Jin Hyuk's heart began to pound faster as the voices of the madmen became louder. The wooden door began slowly breaking down as pieces were thrown in all directions. A blade covered with flesh and blood could be seen through the cracks. There was no time. A little more, and the door would be smashed. The man clicked his tongue as he looked at Jin Hyuk in frustration. The vent's lid was closed behind him. The seal on skills and unique abilities. With these 2 realities alone, the player's fear peaked to the extreme. But I don't know what you'll be able to do in the future if you are so afraid of not having an ability. Skill competence only served an auxiliary role. How many other hellish things would happen in the future? Did it mean the end of your life because your abilities were sealed? That is only for the fanatics. He did get a gift from the Caladium Kingdom, but it didn't seem like one which should be used here. Jin Hyuk held the pen. The pen's tip came out with a familiar sound, and at that moment, the door was smashed as a group of half-naked men, numbering around 30, came through it. They were a quite grotesque sight with their misshapen body and bloody eyes. Kill him. Cut the limbs off. God wants his blood. Rusty sickles and kitchen knives flew towards Jin Hyuk. I have been quite curious about it for a long time. There was one question that he couldn't ask the AI. I wonder if mad people feel fear. Human nature was hidden in front of madness. How long would that mask last? He wanted to test it. With those words, Jin Hyuk's body disappeared like smoke. The ballpoint pen dug into the man's temple in front of him, and a thin stream of blood spurted out from the wound. If you want to take advantage of this, you shouldn't be coming in from a narrow entrance. What if there were more people? 2 could go through the door at one time. In addition, a sickle and a kitchen knife were difficult weapons to use in such a narrow place. Jin Hyuk pulled out the pen and went for the second target. Eyes, below the chin, uvula. He aimed for the many vital points which weren't protected by bones. Terrible screams rang out. Each blow was delivered coldly from his hands. In an instant, more than half of them were just cooling corpses. The ferocious momentum of the mad people was broken. It couldn't be helped. The difference in power between the two sides was too different. The mad ones who had come here to kill were instead the ones being killed. "What are you doing? Is it done?" Jin Hyuk held the ballpoint pen that was dripping with blood, and at that moment, with a roar, a wall collapsed. The intense feeling of someone who was 3 meters tall. The iron helmet. A hammer that could crush anyone. The moment he appeared through the wall was too intimidating. This was one of the named monsters, Breaker. The eye of gluttony quickly scanned the subject. Name, Breaker. Gender, none. Age, 1. Level 45, Strength 100, Agility 15, Stamina 30, Magic 0. Stat points 0. Unique ability, Relentless Hunter. Skills, LV12. Guillotine, LV11. Armor Break, LV11 Breakthrough. LV10, Strengthening Weapon. Target cannot be killed. The overwhelming strength over that magic stat immediately stood out. However, the key information was that the opponent could not be killed. The characteristic of hunger that pursued its prey to the end of hell meant that it could not die. Because of these factors, the ward's difficulty was much higher than the others. Well, whatever it was, Jin Hyuk had run because the opponent was invincible no matter what he did. If I'm caught, he can even pull the spine out of my body. Jin Hyuk frowned. Since this guy was now out, he would have to play tag for now. A game of tag where he would log out of life if he was caught once. Sir. We weren't scared. The mad ones trembled. It was because they knew better than anyone what the outcome of their actions would be. At that moment, Breaker captured the head of one of them. Red blood poured down like a waterfall. The monster was overwhelmingly strong, so this was inevitable. He then moved forward towards where Breaker stood among the kneeling madmen. Breaker reflexively swung the hammer, but it was too late as Jin Hyuk had escaped the attack by a thin margin. Instead, he smashed the body of one of the kneeling madmen. Just one attack caused the wall to collapse and crack at the floors. Overwhelming power. Enough to turn a person into porridge. However, no matter how strong the attack was, it was useless if it didn't hit the target. Jin Hyuk avoided the hammer. The Breaker, intoxicated by blood, began to run wild. The mad ones suffered from the wild swinging of the hammer. Jin Hyuk widened the distance gradually between the falling corpses. A little further, and he would make it to the hallway. But at that moment, Breaker activates LV12 Guillotine. The Breaker held the hammer with both hands and leaned back. The hammer smashed the ceiling and fell towards Jin Hyuk's head. It was a blow with both weight and speed. The falling ceiling also obstructed his view, making the attack hard to avoid. But it didn't matter. The hammer dug into the floor, and the poor lamb was sent back to the hands of God. The Breaker was trying to pull out the hammer that was lodged into the ground. The mad ones inside were almost all mutilated. He killed all of them on his own. This gave him enough time to escape, but Jin Hyuk didn't. Instead, he pressed the power switch of the flashlight again and again. Should I be a bit more confident now? Can you catch me with such a slow body? The Breaker's eyes shone brightly. This was an outright provocation. At the same time, it was also the place where the master of this ward was located. What happened to these humans? A man with visible blue veins on his pale body opened his mouth. This was the master of the ward, an elder to the fanatics. The man in the shade answered. We are taking it smoothly. Some are still running around, but it is only a matter of time before they die. Are you sure? Of course. The leader doesn't have to worry. As long as their magic was sealed, the players inside were nothing more than bugs waiting to be stamped. Everything was going as planned. The lips of the leader turned into a smile. At first, when the demonic human association came, we tried to put them in a furnace and burn them. From our point of view, the players and you people are all the same. But the moment I heard your purpose, that thought changed. I never thought there could be humans with such great intentions. You overestimate us. We are just doing what we have to do. The man bowed his head, and the leader looked satisfied. Do not be this afraid. Humble servants, I will give you a choice. The leader stroked the cheeks of the Asian woman with his cold hand. It was so cold that it gave her an eerie feeling. Choice? If you convert and follow, I will spare you from being burned alive. A chance to live. At those words that promised an escape from death, their eyes fluttered. However, you must kill another person as proof for the conversion. God wants more sacrifices. Now is the time when the tower has just opened and the ignorant ones keep coming in, the promised time for his return. Being locked in the psychiatric ward, brainwashing humans, and transforming them into mad people were altogether sacrifices for their God. The leader looked straight ahead. To be precise, he was looking at the players who had been captured before. The players who had come with Jin Hyuk had escaped through the vent but were soon captured. Leader, I think you should take a look at this. One of the believers looking at the CCTV urgently called for him. What is it? The man went and looked at the screen, which showed an unbelievable sight. What is this? On the screen were Breaker and a player. It was common to see the players being chased, but the problem was that this player was playing around with Breaker. Even though he could escape, he purposefully let Breaker get close and pursue him. He dodged the attacks by narrow margins as the hammer hit the ground. He was also flashing the light constantly. Those eyes read through the opponent's movements so quickly. Such freedom of movement and thought despite his life being at stake. Who would look at this and think his abilities were sealed? How can a human do that to God's agent? They shouted while holding the screen. His nails left marks on the screen as the man beside him saw the scene. And he mumbled, Kang Jin Hyuk? How did he come here? Kang Jin Hyuk. You know him? Yes, an S-ranker from Korea. The man knew the player. He is the most dangerous stumbling block in our plans. Even though his unique abilities and skills were sealed, if they considered him weak, it would lead to a considerable loss. And at that moment, Corrupting Heart is interested in your actions. A red status window shone in front of him. As expected, Jin Hyuk smiled. Nickname, Corrupting Heart. Like Elise, he was one of those strong ones and had been called various names. People often referred to him as the Demon King. Bram's ring trembled. Elise, who must have sensed the magic from the message, flinched. But there was no need to worry. Whether the opponent was a Demon King or Demon God, he was someone who lived on the 40th floor. Above all, knowing about him already helped give Jin Hyuk an advantage. Jin Hyuk smiled. Corrupting Heart proposes to be your sword. The second job change requirement has occurred. If you accept the offer given, you will change your occupation to Black Apostle. I really like this. A second job quest to become a Black Apostle. If Teresa was the Paladin of the Stars, then the Black Apostle was a Black Knight under the protection of the Demon King. He would have different abilities and live with the disadvantage of being a servant of the Demon King. The biggest problem is that if we refuse, we will be cursed by the Demon King. And once the curse was placed, an order to kill him would be sent to all the demons. Naturally, when this was just a game, no player would refuse the offer, as they didn't want to risk the curse. Now that this was a reality, everything hurt twice as much. So, I am sorry, but I will decline. Do you know why? A tiger cub cannot go under a chihuahua. Jin Hyuk chose the other path this time. And with that, this chapter comes to an end. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button, as today's like aim is 1,000 likes. Comment part 10 below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.